All right, so today we're going to look at a potential presidential candidate that is aligning in not only the crypto space, but obviously targeting heavily at Bitcoin. What this might look like in the candidacy and also what this might look like in the political landscape as it plays out. We'll break it down for you today. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. Before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor, and that is iTrust Capital. If you're looking at long-term holding in a crypto IRA, this is one way to do it. You can also invest in gold and silver. But the cool thing is you can transfer your existing IRA, or you can start a new one, or roll over ones you have. Or, it's pretty flexible. Cool thing about this also is that you can get into a lot of different assets. So it's very easy to do. Join. If you decide to get involved and actually do a funding with it, make sure and use our link down below. You do get a $100 funding reward to get going. All right, so let's take a look at a couple things here around Robert F. Kennedy. And if you look at where and what he's about right now, this is basically his website. You can kind of come down here and you see his basically all of his talking points, his transparency, the approach that he's going after. What I think is it's a fair assessment. I think his focus on not only American values, but his approach toward sovereignty, freedom, all those kind of things, rings well with most voters. So you can learn a lot just by looking at his different areas on honest government, reconciliation, the environment, revitalization, where he stands on peace and war, and then obviously civil liberties, which gets into a lot of things that we talk about here on this show a lot, which is freedom of speech, freedom of sovereignty, and of course Bitcoin also, I think, flows into that. So I've got a few clips that we'll get into on this and take a look. I just want to look at his current polling numbers right now. This is, let me zoom up on that just a little bit here. 2024 Democratic presidential nomination. These are the current polling results as of 5/7, so May 7th. You have Biden polling at 64.7, Kennedy coming in at 19.7, and Williamson even on the board now at 7. So this is pretty interesting because this is a real shot, at the Democratic nomination. This will be a scenario that he has really got to get out there in front of the right kind of audience and potentially get a potential position into an emerging audience of the voter class. And I think this will be the narrative that has to be played out between now and obviously the 2024 election. So love to get your feedback on this. What do you guys think about this? If many of you have probably listened to him speak. We're going to show you some clips here. But I'd love you to kind of drop some comments as you see these clips down below. Give us your insights on where you think this guy is going to stand at the end of the day. Do you think he can take Biden out in terms of the nomination? But let's go into why it matters for Bitcoin. Let's go to this first clip here on right to self-custody.
First, I will defend the right of self-custody of Bitcoin and other digital assets. You should be able to own your own private keys the same as you own the keys to your car or own your wallet. Your wallet, whether it's in your pocket or in your computer, is your own. I don't think the government has the right to demand access to your Bitcoin key or indeed any of your passwords. To say otherwise is to cede essential territory to the surveillance state.
All right, so he's talking the talk there that really aligns with the Bitcoin crowd, and I think digital asset crowd in general, maybe to a new generation as well of investors, but also voters as this plays out. This is another clip here on the right to node at home. Listen to what he had said.
Second, I will uphold the right to run a node at home. KYC requirements should be applied at the level of banks and exchanges, not at the level of nodes. Otherwise it would become impossible to run the software. The whole point of Bitcoin is that it's decentralized. Anyone can run a node, and it's important not only for Bitcoin, but for democracy to be decentralized.
Again, saying all the right things. Let's go into his next clip here on energy surveillance. This one is important because of how Bitcoin is mined. Listen in.
Third, I will defend use-neutral, industry-neutral regulation of energy. President Biden's 30% tax on energy for Bitcoin miners requires an invasive surveillance apparatus to monitor what is happening in individual computers. It sets a terrible precedent in which everything that you do that requires electricity must now be monitored by the government. That's why I also support people's rights to refuse smart meters in their homes.
Yeah, so you'll notice, though, that on the screen there is Marathon Digital there, obviously a Bitcoin miner, and there are narratives that are coming underneath Kennedy right now that are being pushed by the pro-crypto crowd. We'll see more of that. I think the way that he is able to hit on a narrative that is a larger connectivity tissue to what he's talking about here for the Bitcoin crowd in terms of regular and everyday people that maybe are not invested in crypto, that's going to be very important. So if he can translate a lot of that around, just like the energy situation, nobody likes those kinds of scenarios on your own home when you want to run your air conditioning. We've seen this in California, Canada, and many other places. So he's on the right track there. We have another clip here on innovation and how we're going to grow technology.
Fourth, I will make sure that the United States remains the global hub of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Major established companies like PayPal, Fidelity, and Block are investing heavily in Bitcoin-related software development. Some of the best engineers and coders in the tech industry work in this field, and we want to keep them here in America. I will reverse the government's growing hostility toward this industry and keep innovation at home.
I think he's got a lot of people on his side on that because innovation drives jobs. Jobs, of course, drives economic potential within the country. And it also could protect us even on the level of national security when you think about how crypto may play into some very strategic aspects of global and digital innovation going forward. We don't necessarily want to have countries that are outpacing all of us. That's how the United States basically got into the frontline position of really innovating on the internet and innovating within Silicon Valley. It really put us at the head of the pack. Let's listen to clip 5 here on regulation.
That leads to my fifth point. Events like the FTX calamity prove that some kind of regulation of the crypto industry is needed. My administration will consult with knowledgeable people like yourselves to establish sensible jurisdiction and governance. For starters, we must recognize that Bitcoin is not a security and should not be regulated as such. Bitcoin is in a class by itself. Its wide decentralization, I'm told now that there are 40,000 nodes, prevents a lot of the insider trading, manipulation, and pump and dump schemes that plague other cryptocurrencies.
All right, listen, he's on talking points for the crypto, and I would say more importantly, probably the Bitcoiners, Bitcoin maxis, etc. He's right on the talking points here. Everything from power to sovereign ability to hold your own coins, etc., all the way into regulation. He talks a little bit about ESG here, environmental sustainable governance. Listen to what he has to say.
Before I conclude, I'd like to say something about the environmental criticism at Bitcoin. It may be unpopular to say here, but even though those criticisms are exaggerated, they have some degree of validity. It's exaggerated because Bitcoin miners chase the cheapest energy. They have to do that for economic reasons. And Bitcoin mining tends to go where the energy is the least expensive, drawing a lot of idle base load as well as excess peak generation of renewable power. But I think Bitcoin miners can still do a lot better, and I encourage you in this industry to expand your use of pro-environmental energy techniques, such as capturing waste methane and using waste heat, which I know many of you are experimenting with. We environmentalists will continue to pressure you to improve. However, whether or not the criticism is valid, I want to make one thing plain. The environmental argument should not be used as a smokescreen for an agenda of suppressing Bitcoin.
All right, so I mean, that's, listen, these are politics, so those are going to be the talking points. I will be very intrigued to watch this guy, who has been an environmentalist all of his career, address this in the future. If he were to take, the White House, if he were to get the Democratic National Party nomination, how would he approach this? Because this is a party that has been, and as you guys all know, it's a green party. It is really gone toward this Green New Deal, the approach of environmental sustainable governance, the narrative, the talking points, even to a certain point, it's all the vision of how all this is going to play into it. So it's going to be interesting to see where he stands on this later. Because, Trump has not necessarily kind of gone this way. He sidesteps these things left and right. It's good that he's going right at it with RFK. Let's listen to also just the fact that you'll be able to do something cool on here, and that's donate Bitcoin. Listen in.
Finally, I'd like to clarify a couple of things. I'm not an investor, and I'm not here to give investment advice or to promote Bitcoin over other cryptocurrencies or other currencies. That's the job of the free market, not the President of the United States. Americans have come to distrust the government, including the way that it has manipulated our money supply to benefit the very rich and to prosecute endless wars. In our current system, nearly all of our transactions are transparent, all right. They're transparent to government and corporations, but their machinations and activities are not transparent to us. They are opaque. I'm proud to make an historic announcement. Our campaign will be the first presidential campaign in history to accept Bitcoin donations through the Lightning Network.
All right, so there you have it. Kennedy 2024 is going to be able to accept Bitcoin donations. One thing to be aware, this is run by OpenNode. There is a lot of KYC involved in this. The other thing that, as we went through a donation that I found and we looked at from our research team, just to be aware that these addresses are, they're dark addresses. So both this and the Lightning address that's being utilized on this, whether you're on chain or going up here to the Lightning tab right there, again, dark addresses. So if you look at a position that is transparency, openness, I feel like that would be the only knock on this right now, is that, this should be just an open public wallet that everybody could see, and also could assist in being able to spread the word on this, because then it would be easy for people to grab and push around the environment. So I think that's just another scenario that plays into this. This could be our, President and First Lady with Cheryl Hines right there, his wife. Just as kind of a funny note, your connection right here, Hines married Kennedy in 2014 after being introduced by co-star Larry David. So intriguing, because it's kind of an interesting way that has played out. Other areas that play into this from a narrative on the national stage when it comes to the political position is what Coinbase has decided to do with crypto moving America forward. This is a new campaign. This is exactly what we were talking about when they launched their NFT program. I won't say that we were critical, but we were kind of surprised that they didn't really open up a new scenario on really exposing, or not exposing, but expanding the opportunity for people to learn much more about crypto, but more importantly is to get our lawmakers really in tune with it. So Armstrong goes into a pretty detailed video here on the website. So you guys can, of course, just search, crypto moving America forward, and you'll find this with Coinbase. A couple of points right here. History of Money Initiative is going to be one of their core elements. Let me zoom in on that for you guys a little bit. Historical timeline, kind of the wallscape of Wall Street. They're going to go into the whole process of how money works. The Stand with Crypto Day is an interesting one, because this is going to happen on July 19th, and Coinbase is going to organize a Stand for Crypto, and they're going to do it in DC. So this, again, will get a lot more media attention. I don't know. We may end up wanting to go here. and really take a look at what's happening in the space and how I think individuals will start to play out. The other thing that I think is important, and this is one that has been a strategy that I think a lot of companies have gone in this direction, but the State of Crypto Summit, this is coming up here in New York City in June. It's important because this is going to bring stakeholders in, traditional financial sector, all of that, as well as security experts, policymakers, and press. So we'll get a lot more people, I think, that will start to make this a potential case that are in the traditional areas of where finance and infrastructure are being built. Remember, no matter what we think about crypto, about gaming, about Bitcoin, the fact is that there is a status quo on how this industry is going to work, and it's going to have to go through that gatekeeping at some point. Sure, there's going to be a growth on it, but the likelihood is you're still going to have to move these on. I think Coinbase sees that, and I think RFK sees that as well. So there's going to be a lot happening in the next really 18 months. So make sure and stay tuned. We'll do a lot of videos on how this is progressing. Make sure and subscribe to the channel. Just hit that little bell so you can get notifications of our live streams, all that good stuff. But best of all is get into the Diamond Circle. All you have to do is click the link down below and join there. It's free. It's another place where we drop additional content and more communication out to you guys to let you know what's happening. If you want to reach me, catch me out there on Twitter @Paul Barrett. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.